Welcome to another video. This week we're going to be talking about melodic minor, demystifying the melodic minor scale. A scale that a lot of guitar players find a bit daunting and a bit difficult to understand and difficult to hear, so hopefully I can make that a bit more accessible. If you already know this stuff, use melodic minor a lot, hopefully I'll be able to provide some of my insights. Might be slightly different to yours, who knows. But this is going to be mainly aimed at the first part of it, specifically at people who never really used the scale, heard of it maybe, never got it, or even tried to use it but couldn't quite understand it or hear how it fits into sort of normal conventional guitar playing really. And then the second part of it, I'll get a little bit more in depth on the modes and the harmony that lives inside of the scale as well. Cool. So what is the melodic minor scale? It's essentially a natural minor scale with a raised 6th and 7th. Now in classical terms they like to think of the melodic minor scale as you raise the 6th and 7th on the ascending part of the scale. So in G that would look like this. Which is how we think of melodic minor traditionally. And then descending it would end up looking like this. Which we know better as guitar players is the Aeolian Mode, or the natural minor scale, the 6th mode of the major scale. In classical terms they think of it, it's like two different scales. Ascending, you raise the 6th and 7th and then you flatten them on the way back down. In every other style of music, pretty much anyway, we tend to just think of it the one way, which is the 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, natural 7. That's the standard way we approach it. We play it the same way both ways, ascending and descending. But just so you know that, because if you've studied music at any academic level, even at GCSE level, you'll have came across that before, and it can be confusing. But generally we think of it the same both ways. So that's that cleared up. Cool. So the melodic minor scale mapped out on the guitar. I'll quickly play through the different positions of the scale. If you want to learn these, you can. The great thing about YouTube now is you can just slow the video down. I'm not going to play each one note for note in different positions because that'll take forever. There's plenty of resources out there to learn them, but like I said, if you want you can just set this video to half speed and have a laugh at my voice, but you can just get the positions from that. So I'll play them in G, just because G is a friendly key, because it starts low down, moves up. So the positions are as follows. So here's position 1. Position 2, I always start from the root every time. Position 3. Position 4. And then finally, position 5. Cool, so there are your 5 positions. Depending on which system you use, of course. If you use a 3-note per string system, there's 7, but 5 is the standard sort of caged way that most people learn it from the caged system. I can go over that in more detail in other videos if that's something you're interested in, different ways to play stuff. But yeah, the best way to do it is just to think of it as in terms of notes, but that's for another day. Cool, so that's your normal melodic minor scale, that's mode 1, that's it. So where do we use that scale on its own? The proper chord for it, the proper harmony that's played over is a minor major 7, because when we break the scale down, there's a root, a minor third, a fifth, but there's a major 7 in there. Interesting sounding chord. It's very sort of mysterious, enigmatic. But it's also quite beautiful as well. It's got this dark sound to it, and believe it or not, it's super melodic. That's the whole thing with melodic minor. It's very melodic. The little thing you heard me play at the start was just a little loop with the looper pedal of some of the chords from the Melodic Minor Scale, and it's got this beautiful sort of dark, mysterious, almost, you know, fairly somber tone to it when you depend on the situation you're using it in. But it's not as odd as people think. You know, it's quite beautiful, really. The major 7 is the note that gives it that quality. Because as we know, in a normal minor 7, there would just be a flattened 7th in there. But this just gives it that. Now, we've heard that chord in so many different things. You know, that descending sequence that you hear a lot, which is like, you know, minor 7, minor major 7, minor 7 again, minor 6. That's, how many tunes have you heard that in? My Funny Valentine, Stairway to Heaven, you know, a couple of famous examples there. But that's a really, really well used thing that you've heard a lot, and you can create that kind of vibe when that's not there as well by using the melodic minor. If you've just got a static minor chord, I'll show you that with the loop pedal. So if I just create like just a minor 7 vamp, so this is just a minor 7 chord. So I play melodic minor over this, mixed in with some other minor stuff, so minor pentatonic and natural minor, Dorian. Hopefully you can hear that there. So that was just over a static minor 7, so that's the easiest place to use it. It's obvious, you know. It's anytime you've got a minor 7 vamp or a chord that you want to inject a little bit of that sound into, use it by all means. Cool, so that's the easiest way. Now, another way to think of melodic minor, the way that I like to think of it, is it's a bit like Dorian on steroids. Now that might seem a bit strange, but it's got the natural 6th in there like Dorian, it's got the minor 3rd in there like Dorian, so it's got a minor 7 feel, sorry, minor 6 feel I should say, but with that major 7 in it. So it kind of, you can use it, it sounds great over these minor 6 chords. I'll show you what that sounds like. So gypsy jazz guys use this a lot. If you hear so trusty looper again. So here we are. So that was like a minor 6 kind of amp, you know. So it's also really, really useful to use in place of Dorian. Sometimes when you've got those Dorian kind of amps that everyone loves, we can stick melodic minor in there as well. In a functional harmony sense, you hear it a lot in minor 251s, melodic minor 251s. You hear the minor major 7 chord from the harmonic minor scale as well, but you see it a lot in those descending passages that I was talking about, and those it's the one chord, you know, in a minor 2-5-1 quite often as well. It's the kind of one that people don't think about too much. People automatically jump to the harmonic minor for that, but you do see melodic minor quite a lot as well. I'll get onto that a little bit more after. Cool, so very quickly, now you know what that is, I'm just going to quickly run through the chords that you'll find in the melodic minor scale. So we'll do them in G. Again, I'll tell you what, we'll do them in F, because F's even lower down. You'll see them a bit better. So these are the chords that you'll find that live inside the melodic minor scale when it's harmonised, like you do with the major scale and all the other chords, all the other scales. So we start off with the minor major 7, like I mentioned earlier. Now the next chord, all the theory books would have you believe it's just a minor 7, which it is, if you just look at it in the most basic form. But when you really listen to the sound of the mode, the sound of the scale, it gives you this chord, which is much more interesting. It's a bit of a mouthful to pronounce. It's a G13 sus4 flat 9. Sounds very fancy, but it's really the sound of that mode. So the mode that lives over that, the second mode of the melodic minor scale, is Dorian flat 2. That's what we call it, Dorian flat 2. And there's the sound, there's the flat 2. Hear that? Really beautiful sound. Okay, so I'll just whiz through these, we'll go through them a bit more in a minute. The next one is the next chord, which in F minor or F melodic minor would be A flat major 7 sharp 5, aka the Star Wars mode, the Star Wars sound. John Williams loves this, you hear it a lot. So the scale that goes with that, the mode, is Lydian sharp 5. It's the third mode of the melodic minor scale. Sounds like this. Really beautiful sound. How many times have you heard that, you know, in Star Wars, just as the credits roll up at the start, you know, you hear that a lot. That's that one. The next one, the fourth one, is this, which is B flat 7 sharp 11. Some of you will already be familiar with that. That's the Lydian Dominant one. It's a dominant chord with a sharp 11 on top, sharp 4. Now that's often used in lots of places, used in tritone substitutions a lot. You get that. So if I was getting it like a 2-5-1 in A major, I might go, stick that little tritone sub in the middle. For those who don't know what that is, I'll probably do another video on tritone subs another time. But I'm substituting the 5 chord, the E7, for this B flat 7 sharp 11. Normally you just make it a B flat 7, but the sharp 11 becomes the 5 of the 1. So it's a really nice little voice leading thing. Okay, but it's also used loads, the scale is used loads for in dominant contexts when we want to just inject a little bit of a different sound. I talked about that in one of my other videos. I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was the spicing up your blues progression video that I did. So you can use it, you know, if you've got like a, you could go like, you know, so just to kind of interject a little bit of that, because it's still a dominant sound at the end of the day. The next one is this. I'll explain that in a second. I'll quickly show you the scale. The scale is this, which is C Mixolydian flat 6. That's what we're going to call it. That's the proper name. So there's lots of ways you can think of this chord. It's not used very often. I like to use it a lot over C7 sharp 5 chords, because a sharp 5 flat 6 is the same. I know there's a harmonic sort of discrepancy there. A sharp 5 and a flat 6 aren't technically the same thing, but at the same time it can be used there. You know, that chord happens a lot in things like turnarounds. That's Joe Pass's intro to Satin Doll there. So it's a great tension for that 5 chord in C. So C7. Cool. Next one, 6th one. Good old minor 7 flat 5 is the chord, and then the mode would be Locrian natural 2. Sounds like this. Great sound. You would use that over minor 7 flat 5 chords. I actually prefer it in a lot of ways because it's not as jarring as a normal Locrian minor 7 flat 5. Use that one a lot. Now the last one is super Locrian, or the altered scale, and that goes along with the altered chord. So the altered chord is like, it's a minefield really. It's any of the alterations that can be made to the extensions, the upper extensions of a dominant 7th. So flat 9, sharp 9, flat 5, sharp 5. Because they in turn give us all the other alterations that we need. You know, so like for example, you know, a sharp 5 is also a flat 13. A flat 5 is also a sharp 11. For example, it covers all the extra notes. So your altered chord could be something like Hendrix chord, or something a bit more elaborate like 7 sharp 5 sharp 9. It can be any of those alterations. Okay. Technically, I mean, there's 2 other altered chords in this. You've got you heard your B flat 7 sharp 11 earlier, and your C 7 sharp 5. They're altered chords as well. But the altered scale sounds like this. If we just keep doing them in position. Wherever you want to play that. Cool. I covered the altered scale quite a bit more in depth in the last video I did, but yeah, it's essentially it is the last mode of the melodic minor scale, the 7th mode, and it's like I said, it's all the alterations. So the harmonic spelling is literally 1 flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. That's why it's called super Locrian, which brings me on to an interesting point. So the way to think about all of these modes really is, I like to think of them as like souped up versions of the ordinary major scale modes. If you think about it, they all have the same names. So you've got things like Dorian flat 2, Mixolydian flat 6, Lydian flat 7, or Lydian Dominant, super Locrian. So that's quite a good sort of benchmark, or a good guideline of where you can use them. They're often used in the same sort of applications as where you would use the normal modes, and you can't go far wrong with that. It's just think of it as a different flavour to the other ones. You'll find the same thing with the harmonic minor modes and the harmonic major modes. I'll make separate videos on them at some other point if that's something you want to see. If you like this kind of more in-depth harmony kind of stuff, I'll do that. I might just do it anyway, to be honest. But that's really it. If you're stuck of where to use these things, if you think, oh god, you know, I've practiced my Lydian Dominant or Lydian flat 7 mode, then where do I use that? Well, it's a dominant at the end of the day, so where would you use dominant sounds? What would you play over dominant sounds? You know, probably mix a Lydian Dominant 7th ideas. Try sticking in Lydian Dominant as well, you'll be surprised at the results. That pretty much goes for all of these. You know, some of them you might not use as much. I mean, like that second one, you 13 sus4 flat 9, it's quite a specific sound, that. Now you don't see that chord crop up too often, but you can still use it to invoke that sound over just like a minor 7 if you want to, you know. But that's the whole point with melodic minor, it's super melodic, as I said earlier. And then the other thing to bear in mind with melodic minor, there are no void notes. That's a big important thing. So you could play all of the chords in a melodic minor scale, so all of the chords in say F melodic minor, and just play F melodic minor over the whole thing. It would sound really nice. There's no void notes, you know, like in the major scale where you get the 4th is a bit of a dodgy one to land on. There are none of those in melodic minor. I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you that now. thing. So that didn't sound offensive at any given point. I know the backing that I created was a bit sort of stiff and boring, but the notes that I played over the top, I just played F melodic minor over all of those, and the chords I played were the 7 chords that I highlighted earlier. Quickly go over them one more time. Minor major 7, 13 sus 4 flat 9, simplified version just minor 7. The major 7 sharp 5, A flat, B flat 7 sharp 11, the 4th chord. 5th one, I think of it as a C7 sharp 5, shoot me. The 6th one is, minor 7 flat 5, and the last one is the altered. In this case, 7 sharp 5, sharp 9, flat 9, whatever, sharp 9, flat 9, anything you want. Okay, so they're the chords. Like I said, if you need to find out where to use them, think of the normal application of the chord and the normal thing you would use, and then give these a try over it. Start off, just learn the melodic minor scale, mess around with that, playing it over minor chords, minor 7 chords, minor 6 chords, give it that sort of Dorian treatment where you would use Dorian, try melodic minor instead. You'll come up with some interesting results. Start there, then start trying to add the other ones in. It was a good eye-opener for me, that for trying to get these sounds into my playing, and I use them all the time. Okay, nice one guys. So if that was useful in any way, let me know in the comments. I'm going to keep uploading more videos weekly, probably one a week I'm guessing at this point. It might increase if I get the time. If not, I'll try my best to stick to that. Please give the channel a like and subscribe. That will help me a lot, just because I'm just starting out with this. Trying to bring sort of, you know, no bullshit content, with just sort of hopefully trying to get to the crux of the matter with these. Some of these topics are fairly advanced as well, or fairly complex to sort of distill down into an easy bite-sized chunk. That's why this video is quite long. This is probably the longest one I've done so far. But if you've stuck with it so far, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Cheers. Job's a good one.